the lovers we be will bring sweet harmony. Then it will bring out the love, bring out the love, bring out all the love. Yes. Bring out the love. Said I wanna bring out.
Welcome to another edition of Voice of the Diaspora. In studio with me today are two special guests, activists Francis Michael Bailey and Jason Benjamin will be talking to the Guyanese people at home and across the world about corruption in Guyana and about the Attorney General's attempt in silencing the voices that are speaking out against corruption in that country. I want to welcome my two special guests here on VOD TV. Francis Michael Bailey and Jason Benjamin, welcome to Voice of the Diaspora.
Thanks a lot, Norman. Hey, good afternoon to you, Jason. Good afternoon to all you guys at home.
I know this is the first time for you, Francis. Jason is no stranger to this program. I would like you to briefly introduce yourself. Tell the diaspora who is Francis Michael Bailey.
For all intents and purposes, Francis Bailey is a Guyanese, a normal, everyday Guyanese trying to live his life, but he's frustrated by a few things, namely the infrastructure, the lack of the care that we are told about, the lack of the love for the population of the civilians we are told about. Those are the things that frustrate me, that in 2024, now that we find ourselves as the richest country in South America and possibly the hemisphere, we still lack for basic things. We don't have proper running water. We still have inconsistent electricity. I'm frustrated by these basic things. I am a full-time beekeeper. I have a background in multimedia and advertising. I'm an artist. I'm a musician. And I find myself as an activist simply because I don't believe I can afford to stay silent. I don't believe many of us can afford to stay silent because things will get worse. So that's who I am. I consider myself a normal person.
Jason Benjamin, I know you've been here many times, but briefly, for those who are tuning in, introduce yourself briefly.
Shortly, good afternoon, audiences, good afternoon, hosts, and my colleague participant. Most important, I'm Jason Benjamin, very blunt, brutal, to the point, and I am no stranger. I was the former president, University of Guyana Student Society, one of the longest serving, and successfully through student advocacy, we were able to get the online registration, which is still functioning and, of course, being upkeep. And that's a good thing, a successful project through working with and through students for a common objective. Nonetheless, I am here to speak the truth and to speak it as it is. Thank you.
Here to speak the truth, and that is what we will be doing this evening. So much is happening in Guyana. So much is happening in Guyana. Corruption is endemic. It is way out of control. And we see today that Francis Michael Bailey is putting his shoulders to the wheel. He is exposing so much that is happening in Guyana. Corruption. He's doing it in a way unlike any other activist. It is a unique way in which he's doing it. And I would rather suspect, based on the information coming to me, that Francis Michael Bailey perhaps is a major part of the Attorney General's decision to tweak the cybercrime law. I have received information that the PBP is watching Francis Michael Bailey and they intend to move against him. That will be difficult because Francis Michael Bailey is a professional. Is a professional that is not involved in anything. But we know this regime. Francis Michael Bailey has been exposing the PPP in a most unique way. Guyanese can visit his page, they can see his videos, they can see his style, they can see the effectiveness in which he is exposing corruption and mismanagement in Guyana. I want to start with you, Francis Michael Bailey. We are aware that the PPP government has built what they call a four-lane highway. I think it's called Schoonard Highway. And many Guyanese have followed your work and what you have been saying about that Schoonard project. Tell us what is happening there. Give us a bit of history of what it is and what is happening at the moment in your own words.
Okay, well, the history as I understand it, and I want to speak to your earlier point about me exposing corruption, as it were. So starting with this Schoonard Road. So the Schoonard Road has been in development for quite some time now. Contracts were signed. Excuse me. Contracts were inked to the tune of $11.4 billion originally. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you clearly.
Yeah, contracts were inked to the tune of $1.4 billion initially. By the end of the project, we were told that the road cost $15.1 billion. And I just went there to have a look at it. Okay, same as any citizen might be interested in what the quality of work that we have gotten for our taxpayer dollars. I think $15 billion is quite a substantial amount of money. And I'm more than happy for us to spend that money if we're getting good quality for the money we're spending. So I simply went down there not to expose corruption. I went to assess the quality of the works that the Guyanese population are getting for their money. That's it. And I think sometimes we start wrong when we say, oh, well, Francis went there to expose corruption. No, I want to see what is. If I find corruption there, I share it with you. I don't go expecting to find corruption everywhere. It just ends up meeting me everywhere I go.
Yes.
Okay, and in this instance here, there's clearly been a corruption process. Many people don't understand what is meant by corruption. Okay, and there are different types of corruption. In this instance here, we were promised, among other things, an emergency lane for emergency vehicles, right? We were promised that the road would create more, it would open up more land, create more linkages. Yes, it is likely done all that, but I was disappointed personally with the quality of the road on display. I have traveled extensively in my life. I've lived outside of Guyana, and nobody can come to me and tell me what is on display there is a good road. So I went there and I highlighted some of the issues with that road. There were a number of tripping hazards. I believe that the sidewalk was in unsafe condition for anybody to walk on it, and it should really be condemned. And the design planning stage of that sidewalk in particular was bad. The road was uneven. The concrete sections of the road, excuse me, the concrete sections of the road were also bumpy. I saw them using a tile cutter to cut into the concrete. You know, the concrete's supposed to have these units for thermal expansion and contraction. I just did not see things being done properly, and it left me very disturbed. What left me even more disturbed was that was after posting this footage to the internet and having widespread condemnation of what we can all see as substandard work. I honestly would have expected the government to come out and say, hey, we didn't notice. We didn't notice this happened. This was not according to the project criteria as we set out. This is clearly wrong. This is abusive of the public coffers. And we are going to have the contract in question rectify these problems forthwith. And instead, we were met with a president that said there was absolutely no problem, that nothing was wrong. It was just a few drain covers. So sometimes, I live in this country. I feel Guyana is painfully beautiful. This is a beautiful country. We just suffer for the type of politicians we have. And I say this on both sides because at this point, I have experienced an APNU government. I have experienced a PPP government. And I will tell you with no qualms, whenever one of these parties is in office, half the country feels compelled to stay silent because their team are in. And I saw the very same with the APNU and with their diehard supporters when they were in office. The same people that were behind me saying, yeah, could criticize and call out these things. They didn't want to call it out when the APNU were doing nonsense. Like that termite infested Durban Park Stadium. Okay? People did not want to call it out. And now we find ourselves in a new dispensation with the PPP. Equally, people don't want to call out their party. So a lot of the time I say Guyanese are their own worst enemy, right? Quite often I'm accused just from, I guess, the color of my skin. I'm a black man. I must be associated with the PNC. I don't belong to the PNC party. My party is Guyana, right? So I think sometimes we misconstrue this thing. We are our own worst enemy. And if we are looking at this here, we criticize the Schoonard Road. We must be willing to do this for any and every administration. That is my point. This is not simply a matter of looking at the PPP and looking at their shortcomings. This is a national problem. And between these two parties, we've been at this for nearly 60 years now. And there are many of us that have grown up in it and are fed up. That's it. I'm fed up.
Well, I think Guyanese are fed up, and I would want to support your overall position there. As you are aware of my work on my program, I get a lot of blame for a lot of things too. Jason, before we go to you, to give your views on the Schoonard Highway and relate to what Francis said there just now. Let us go to what the president had to say. Of course, Francis Michael Bailey would have just mentioned his observation. He was present there in person and he made those observations. Let us go to what the president said to confirm that Francis Michael Bailey is telling the truth.
Raised about the Schoonard Road project.
There is absolutely no concern about Schoonard Road project. First of all, and I shared with Shabron last evening information, because there are some drain covers, and these are covers where the form still has to be removed, and this is ongoing, and there's a long defects liability period. So it's just empty noise.
The update that you shared with him was given to you by the contractor?
No. This is the project team.
Life could be a dream, life could be a dream. Shaboom. Life could be a dream. If I could take you up in paradise up above. If you would tell me I'm the only one that you love. Life could be a dream. Sweetheart, hello again. Shaboom, and open we'll meet again. Boom, ding dong, ding dong, a lang, a lang, a lang. Oh, whoa, pip, a bip.
Welcome back, Jason Benjamin and Francis Michael Bailey here on Voice of the Diaspora. Jason, you heard Francis there. You saw or heard what the president had to say. I want to ask you this question because you have been involved in politics for a while and you have been a commentator for a while. When you look at the condition of the Schoonard Highway, Francis said he did not go there to call out corruption. He did not go there. He went there to make an assessment of what was happening, and he saw corruption. But what about you, Jason? When you look at this situation, do you think it was expected? Do you think it was expected because of this culture of friends, family, and favorites, and the corruption that is endemic? In terms of giving contracts and siphoning off the money to each other.
It was no surprise to me in terms of the poor standard of work being delivered by the corrupt installed PPP regime through their third parties, friends, family, and cronies. Why am I saying this? It is simply show that first, their interest is more in infrastructure as against other people's interest in the people of Guyana. And so we have a shift in the status stone. The fact that you put infrastructure ahead of the human resource, that speaks volume. And when we look at what we have of managing those initiatives, we quickly identify an unintelligent or uneducated president installed, of course, being tutored or being tossed by the turncoat Bharat Jagdeo. And so we find that many of the things that should be embraced by rigid policies, documented through Parliament, should be conformed with as it relates to building projects, codes, road designs, and so on. Many of those things are not followed, and it is a simply a rush. We saw, in fact, for 4 years now, we saw what is unfolding in Guyana. And we saw an upsurge in road projects, some of the roads being redesigning over and over and over and still cannot get it right. And when you ask the question why this upsurge, you and I know that next year coming, it's elections mode. And so you find that every possible way that you can tap into the treasury, especially the citizens' monies, you can tap into that. They do it by all means necessary, and some of the reasons for doing so are illogical. And so you and I know, as well as many others, know that corruption, that's the breadbasket for corruption or for inside trading, which is another form of corruption. Hence, we see many of these initiatives that should have been good for Guyana and Guyanese by extension are in the hands of people who are uncertified or unqualified. And of course, we get what we give for our monies, and that it has to do with a corrupt PPP install regime. And so I will hold the PPP accountable, but also lay it flat at the feet of the corrupt kleptomaniac as well as liar Bharat Jagdi. You understand? He is the one who's manipulating Ali as well as Nandlal to do things contrary. We're coming to Anil Nandlal episode shortly, but as it relates to the road design throughout the country, and it's not. And I think from what my colleague would have exclaimed, simply hearing $15 billion spent on a road project or a road initiative obviously would create the interest for anyone to want to go see what is this $15 billion project looking like. And especially he touched on a key point which we should not bypass easily, which is international exposure. When you are internationally exposed to standards as it relates to engineering designs and throughout the country or the world, and you go places, you see a certain delivery of goods, tangible goods, and built in quick time, and so on. But in Guyana, you see an initiative that can be um, built in a span or a decade more to go. And so there is the breadbasket for corruption. So, as against international exposure and having that kind of background, you look to see is it on par with international standards? And obviously, from just being in that arena, you can quickly identify the challenges in the system. And indeed, that entire structure should be condemned. Thank you.
That entire structure should be condemned. I want to ask Francis quickly, Jason, I would like you also to make a brief contribution here too. Francis, you spoke about the water situation in Guyana, but it appears as though almost every aspect in Guyana seems to be in trouble in terms of substandard um, work being done. to improve those services and so on. Look, when you look at it, Francis, would you conclude that the PPP regime is deliberately undermining development in Guyana for personal aggrandizement?
I know some people want me to come on here and say the PPP are the most crooked. Right now, yeah, they seem a bit crooked to me, but my problem in this whole debate is at any given time, half the population only want to talk about one party's shortcomings. Okay, I hope that should there ever be an APNU government again, I could rejoin you, and should they be messing up, we could have the same conversation because where is the opposition in all of this? I keep asking myself, where is the opposition? Guyana has a very weak opposition, right? These guys pop up around election time. In as much, yes, you have the PPP that are making a lot of these decisions. I am not seeing pushback. I am not seeing
You're not
pushback.
seeing
We
pushback.
have these people popping up. No, we have these people popping up from nowhere to campaign for votes, and they normally do it close to election. Okay, but they're distant. You don't hear about them the rest of the year. When our roads got pothole in them, when it caving in, when they're not finishing work on time, where are these people? Where are these opposition leaders, so to speak? Where are they? They're just as weak they're just as guilty of dereliction of duty as the PPP, in my opinion. They're all sitting there collecting money in Parliament. They're all sitting there. They're all responsible. Tune into our broadcast, President, and tell me if it doesn't sound like you're the back of a fish market. Okay? We have petty politicians that are just focused on pointing fingers at each other. Nobody will take responsibility for this substandard work that we have. It is embarrassing. To travel and to live in Guyana is to know what it is to be embarrassed on a daily basis by dead dogs on your street, and you know you're judged by it, by foreigners that come here. That's why they wash their mouth on us. Dead dogs on your street that dry there, right? Your gutters are not cleaned properly. There's garbage every square inch of this country. There's garbage. Every parapet looks like a disaster zone. Parts of this country look like Gaza. Okay, and we're not in a war. It's filthy. It's filthy. It smells bad. Okay, this is the reality of it. And it's been bouncing around between the PNC and PPP. And periodically we just switch who we blame, but nobody would take responsibility for this and fix this mess. I don't care. The PPP could even stay in office. I really don't care. They could stay there if they need it. They need to clean up their act. Because when APNU went in, I found it equally as disappointing. I would put my hand on the block and say David Patterson was one of the best infrastructure ministers Guyana has seen in decades because he was a technocrat. He knew what he was doing. Okay, we have a lot of quacks in that position. But APNU still made some grave missteps. One of those being Durban Park, which is the sword of Damocles still hanging over them today. But none of them could could acknowledge it, and we lack acknowledgement on both sides of the divide. That's why I'm not interested in having conversations where I sit and simply bash the PPP. Because when the AP and you get in, are they any better? When Harman is there taking trips on private planes with Chinese contractors, are his party base condemning him? So how do we expect different when we considering the PPP and their support base? We have to be fair in this country. I'm fed up of it. We must be fair. Give Jack his jacket. If you do good, you do good. You do wrong, you do wrong. I'm not here to just simply bash any party or bash Jack Dio or bash Ali or right, because it's just back and forth, back and forth. Same thing. They need to take charge. The last video I posted, I went and looked at a good road. That road is leading to the island around Vredenhoek. I posted that today and I compared. There are there are good roads in this country built for the oil and gas sector, right next to government roads of substandard quality that are built for us. And my point is that I don't care who is in office. I'm fed up of this. I'm fed up of it and I need it to change. We all need it to change. And we need to stop fighting each other. I think you would have much more success. Programs and host programming would have much more success if we appeal to the commonality of people. We have working class people in this country that you have PPP, PNC. It's not simply about the party, it goes beyond that, right?
Goes beyond
It's a
that.
disregard, a contempt, a
A
disrespect of the
cult,
everyday
a
citizen.
culture,
It's
a
a
culture
culture.
that is
And that
abominable.
it extends to the elites that occupy both sides of the political divide. I put my life on it. Both sides are guilty of it. Because one side is letting their friends and family get all the contracts. I don't hear anything from the other side. There's a crime of omission. They say
It,
in peep.
it,
I hold
it's
them all responsible.
it's a very, very serious point you made there, and I was not going to go down the opposition way at the moment because I get a lot of blame for being PNC and bashing the PNC. And Jason is right here. Jason bashes me sometimes too. Jason, but I want you to respond to the question and to touch on what Francis has just said there. I wasn't going to bring the opposition in, but it is
But
here
why
now.
Right.
would why
So
would you why would you try and have a conversation about public infrastructure, about problems in this country, and decide before you have the conversation you're not bringing a particular party into
because
it?
I no
Aren't you
no
just
that's
as
you got
guilty
me
as the
you got
PPP?
me wrong, Francis. You got me wrong. I have been consistently bashing the opposition, consistently bashing the opposition. You understand? I am giving the opposition more flack than even the government, and Jason can testify to that.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a
Okay.
program. You may not be aware of my activism or what this program is about, but I want you to understand that I concur with everything you said. With
Mm-hmm.
everything you said, I concur with everything you said because it's along the vein of my activism. And many times, Jason would come after me, and so on. Whether he comes after me or not,
Okay.
whether he comes after me or not, he will always be welcome on this program. And this is what I think you're talking about. We must be fair. We must be able to call out both sides. The point you made that the government is getting away with mismanagement because the opposition is quiet. This program, I
Exactly.
said that a million times
Exactly.
before.
It doesn't
Jason,
happen. Corruption doesn't happen in a vacuum. It is enabled.
it is enabled. Jason, over to you.
Yes, I wanna agree with my colleague in some aspects, and I say in some aspects for the sake that the audience can understand that there is no perfect system. Nothing is perfect in this world, and obviously in it you would have bad, you would have good, a combination or a Venn diagram of many different parts working together. Nonetheless, one of the
That's
things
still a
that
bit
we
vague.
no, no, I know I'm
Hold
vague,
on,
but I'm
Francis. Let
narrowing.
him. You will be able to respond. Go ahead, Jason.
Apologies. My apologies.
You
Go
will
on.
be able to respond to Jason.
Yeah, no, worries.
Go
I,
ahead. Go
I
ahead,
took it
Jason.
for now going into the inner core, Francis. You know how we operate. Yeah, we call a spade a
Yeah.
spade.
Okay. My apologies. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Heck, yeah. But I'm saying that in a whole, you have a combination of all these negatives as positives and everything working together. And you did make the point that indeed the focus should not just be on the PPP. And I agree with you on that. You understand? But I took the approach to call out PPP because I am holding whomever is at the helm. Even if it's PNC on the Granger time, I was calling out Granger too. You understand? But my point
Okay.
is,
Yeah,
at
I
the
can agree with that. The
yeah,
overarching responsibility. Mm-hmm.
right. But the core issue at this time, while it is corruption, who's responsible? Corruption needs to be truncated from the helm and not the bottom, because we're seeing in a system where the smaller or the less fortunate is being oppressed and being traumatized and even jails and all sorts of things happening to them. But at the higher level, we're not seeing that kind of urgency to stem corruption, and obviously it speaks volume. But I
But
agree
why,
that
Jason? Why no urgency to
and
stem
this is where I'm
corruption?
coming to the
Yeah,
behavior
go
of
ahead.
the opposition. Where I'm coming to, you
Yeah.
understand? This has nothing to do with if you run the one umbrella or the other. I believe in speaking truth. Speak it, facts will always remain facts. You understand?
Yes.
The
I would
opposition in
remind you, gentlemen, I have to go just now. My battery is on 1% right now,
We,
just in case I cut off.
y- y-
But I would remind you that both of these parties have at various points promised to jail each other for corruption and then assumed office and let all of that slide. That is why I hold everybody responsible. This
eh,
corruption that you speak of in the PPP would not have just started in this election cycle. Okay? When the APNU went into office, they went in with promises to prosecute corrupt individuals in the government. They did not do such a thing. Okay? So I hold them just as responsible as the PPP. If they saw this corruption all the time and when they had the power to do something about it, they did not, they're just as culpable. Okay?
exactly.
There's no
Like
difference to me.
nobody is disagreeing with you. All we're saying,
Mm-hmm.
I took the position as to calling where the chip or the buck stops. You understand? You went ahead
Indeed. And I agree with you on that.
to encapsulate additional factors, which indeed is so. Because why is it that and I want to bring in a third factor, by the way, the people, the
Mm-hmm.
government organizations are accountable to the people. And it is for that reason of international exposure, like you are, or you would have experienced, you can find yourself speaking from a base of conviction, not about who is in office or who is out of office or what, but to
Yeah, yeah. I'm
speak to
going to
say
keep up these
2024
because
still cannot be
you
right.
call me to
And so
bash the PPP.
I
Okay.
support I support your view. But for me, I am calling them out individually because I cannot go to you or to the opposition or to anybody to ask for money. These different structures or the social fabrics, the councils, these places, the mayor's office, and so central government is responsible for funding many entities, as you would know, so that as to alleviate some of the stresses and the pressures of people facing in society to empower them. That is not being done, all because of micromanagement. But we would not go into that avenue. The point is that both entities must be blamed for what is unfolding in Guyana. And I say this with no sad feeling or any remorse or anything. The simple thing is that more needs to be done. And I am not speaking from a base of party level or anything like that. I'm speaking from a base as a reminder of what late Martin Luther King Jr. told us. You understand? He says, our lives begin to end the day we become silent on issues that matter. And so, on that note, I want to bring in the people of Guyana, the citizens, because they are too idle, sitting back and allowing this foolish mantra to unfold before their eyes. And who is suffering? We all are suffering at the hands of misjudgment, at the hands of micromanagement, at the hands of so many different social ills in society, all because of uneducated or disinterested people who have no concerns about human resource management or development. I have a problem with that. And when I saw your video, I think it was excellent in terms of really hitting home to show you just hold a piece of the material and it crumbles. That in itself asks, did this project really cost 15 billion plus dollars? And so, if citizens are not concerned about what is being provided to them for their use, you understand, then we have a serious problem. And so, the issue for me has to do with a cultural reset. You understand? There needs to be a cultural reset in Guyana. People need to understand. And I'm thankful that you are on the ground bringing it to the people just as is and not that no one is fabricating anything. So, again, kudos to you for doing that. Like I said, facts will always remain facts. We may have differences in opinion, but at the end of the day, both parties or both entities must be blamed for what is unfolding in Guyana. There
I,
needs to be more pushback.
I think Francis is gone. I think his phone. I really wanted to get his view on Nandalal's attempt to begin the process of tweaking the cyber laws to oppress the voices like his. I want to say to Francis, Michael Bailey, that we didn't bring you on this program to bash the PPP. The PPP is the government. It's the government of the day. And the PNC has been out of office almost 5 years. We are talking about what is happening today in Guyana. And we're talking because Francis Michael Bailey himself has been exposing those corruption. And so I want to make that clear. Jason, we will discuss Anil Nandalal's view, public view about tweaking the cyber law. I use the term tweaking the cyber law and being harsh on voices. He said we have to be condign with them. Those were the Attorney General's word, the Minister of Legal Affairs and Attorney General Anil Nandalal words, that, we have to be harsh because nowhere else in the world no one gets away with what Guyanese who are speaking out against this abominable regime. No one else in the world, they're getting away with that. Let us go to this brief message from Anil Nandalal before you talk about what he said.
So I want to begin by revisiting an issue that I spoke about last week, and that is the use of the social media by certain personalities. These persons use the social media only, it appears, to attack the reputation and character of others. They scandal and scandalize people's family. They publish the nastiest and most humiliating information about people's personal life. I have no doubt that most of them are untruth, but something has to be done about the use of the social media as a weapon.
It's an avalanche. It's not like trickles. It's a deluge of their support. Everybody, people who believed that they stood for something that was different, and now have seen the true nature of the AFC.
So, Jason, you would have heard there Anil Nandalal parts of what he said. And of course, you would have heard what Jagdio said, referring to Amerindians as Bok people. I wonder if the cybercrime law will be applied to Bar Jagdio for calling Amerindians subhumans or non-humans, because Bok, we know, is a deer, and that derogatory term has been outlawed for a very long time. I don't think anyone calls Amerindians that anymore, because it's derogatory and it's racist to boot. And so here Anil Nandalal is talking about, going after, and he said certain. So he never, it wasn't a general position. It seems as though there's a targeting of a certain group of people. And here Jagdio is referring to Amerindians as Bok people. Jason, what are your thoughts on this whole cybercrime thing that Anil Nandalal wants to introduce new legislations to ensure that we are dealt with condignly?
Well, first of all, to to observe crooked Anil Nandlal's approach to cybercrime or cyber law, I should say, we see clearly that he himself showcased to the world that he has a motive because he's very selective in his approach. And it begs the question, why? Obviously, and again, I'm calling it as I see it, elections election is around the bend. And obviously, whatever is being said as they refer to some of the social media contributors as social media influencers, definitely it is hurting them, whether be it image, whether be it with what, but most of it, it is just pushing them in corners that they are in a position rushing to cover nasty criminal acts and everything. They're rushing to cover their grounds. And so, in that way, it's like, first of all, they even fail to recognize that, hey, this is not primitive Guyana, this is modern day Guyana. And in this technologically advanced era, you find that people, whether you like it or not, are now a part of this social or this technical movement which requires all to be a part. If not, you're left behind. And no one, I would think, wishes not to be in such a position where they're left behind because of the ignorance or arrogance of the technology. So people are inclined, and especially with receiving information in real time, there is no longer you can cover up and wait for someone to tell you something and then you wait for verification or so. It is right in front of your eyes, fingertips instantaneously. In that regard, I use that position to show that when corrupt acts or acts appear to be corrupt, are publicized or published quickly, people get a chance to see, and it's spread throughout Guyana and by extension the world. People get a chance to make a decision for themselves. And so what happens is now this rush to cover up. And in not getting their way, Anil Nandlal, sitting on that seat for now, you understand, is trying to harp or harpoon his way in such manner that he wants to silence people or silence people for speaking the truth or to exposing the corrupt PPP regime, failing to do what is right, focusing more on infrastructure rather than human resources. So, in that regard, they're on a hot fire, hot seat in that this thing is affecting them severely. And obviously, it will turn minds away from them because they are seeing this creature in real time. And on the other hand, we also saw that while he is trying to propagate such an initiative, this thing is not now. This thing was created all along or started its creation since with Anil after recognizing that, hey, there are a lot of legal minds who would have completed University of Guyana, but still cannot make it to Trinidad to complete their final phase. And as a result of that, what he did is try to muster these people and use them under his ambit for his means to an end. And this is what we're seeing at this juncture. You understand? So to now try to go after a specific few shows an imbalance, and it is not a system that gives equitable distribution. So we also saw Bharat Jagdeo, you understand? We saw him where simply he is referring to people in a way that is unacceptable, but yet nothing is being done. And so I'm saying that simply to say that it's like Animal Farm.
Yes.
What is some is not good for others. You understand? And that in itself, people must reject. So to say that, oh, the social media is more of it is he has a problem with the abuse of freedom and so on. How can you abuse freedom? Freedom is freedom.
Freedom.
So to bring
Yeah.
all these jargons and compendious words to make fluff bluff with no substance, and push it on people as a way to enframe their minds not to think and think that what he is doing is a good to stymie and for people to only speak good about Guyana, that is unacceptable. You understand? So,
But
Anil
for people to
Nandala,
speak good only about the PPP government, not even about
well, that,
Guyana.
yes, narrow the
But
scope
but
in.
but but look at this here. This is the same Anil Nandalal in a past PPP regime, when it was a full-fledged dictatorship with extrajudicial killings and all of that. Abominable, abominable. This is the same Anil Nandalal that has allegedly been accused of being involved in the murder of Courtney Crump Ewing, an activist like
Yes,
yourself, who was
yes.
protesting against Anil Nandalal outside of his chambers. Um, Nothing has come out of that. There seems to have been, a covering up of that and so on. This is the same Anil Nandalal that is responsible, allegedly, for sending people to America to attack Burke. Rickford Burke, an activist.
Yes.
And the same Anil Nandalal that there is a recording existing where he threatened Kaichor News journalists, threatened them in the most serious way. And so I'm saying, Jason, before we go, I want to ask you this question. Do you believe that Nandalal and the PPP are pushing? I know you. It's okay. You can pick up. We are on a program. Don't It doesn't matter. But do you believe that Nandalal and the PPP are emboldened to do what they intend to do now, planning to do, because the opposition is lukewarm?
I wouldn't put it as just the opposition being lukewarm, but what I put it as, there is a move, there's great uneasiness on the part of the government with which events are unfolding, in which they are being embarrassed not locally or nationally but also internationally, and having that turn of events or people to shift their focus from them or to step up and to strengthen or to stand for certain policies for forcing them to do the right thing, or if not, they can face consequences. I think recognizing that their back is against the wall, they are forced in the rush to do any and everything to make themselves look as though they are doing something. But how wise are we when the time has passed and we cast a glance backwards? We see the things we ought to have done when the time for doing is gone. And that is the position in which Anil and the other cronies found themselves. You understand? So to go to specific people, that in itself seeks and by any means necessary. He doesn't care about internationally, especially in the US. He doesn't care, which also confirms the initial action with Sabatoro, or I forgot his name, the police officer coming here on foreign soil to
So,
go after.
yeah.
See all these different things. And this is why I established initially, as anyone would know, for law, it doesn't care with who says what, and so the motive, they seeks to find out the motive. And obviously, in his presentation, we see clearly that he has a motive. A motive for what? To go after specific social media influencers.
He's not
And
going
that in
after
itself,
Guyanese critic or anybody else. In that
exactly.
that are supportive of the PPP. Jason, I know you have to go. I know you're busy. Your closing remarks.
Well, generally, I would like to remind people that let us stay focused. Let us keep our hands to the wheel and recognize that we as a people need to come together as quickly as possible and be a united force to going forward. Nonetheless, Anil Nandalal failed to go after GCOM. I think those would have been much more acceptable approaches to go after GCOM, for GCOM to get it right. But then you cannot take a crook to think about straightening a system that needs revamping and rebuilding or restructuring. So his mind is all over the place. And so they are going into avenues that they would seek dominance and control. And that in itself must be rebuked, not by just the opposition, but by we, the people. The government of Guyana, that crooked installed regime, is responsible to we, the Guyanese people. So, Guyanese, I am calling on you, as well as reminding you that for Guyana to grow, the PPP must go. And how must they go? We vote them out with the use of our index fingers. And Barrett Jack Dio must be jailed for crimes against Guyanese. Thank you.
Jason Benjamin, US based Guyanese activist here on Voice of the Diaspora. I want to thank you very much for being on this program, for taking time out at the last minute to join this program. It shows your commitment to the struggle. I want to also thank Francis Michael Bailey for joining the program. He had a mix up with the time. He thought it was 9:30 Guyana time, when it's really 9:30 UK time, which is 4:30 Guyana time. And so he took the opportunity also to step away from what he was doing, and join the program. Of course, his phone battery was dying and so on, and but he still was here and he still gave his contribution. I want to thank you guys, and until next time, I hope that you will be back with us soon. Jason Benjamin, political activist based in the United States. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Love you, Guyanese. Take care.
I just want to say to my viewers that we're back, and we're ready. We're ready to fight corruption wherever it raises its head, and we are not afraid. We are not afraid of any politician, ruling politician, that wants to silence our voices. We will speak louder. We will speak louder, and we will come at you harder, because we're coming with the truth. We're coming with the truth. You will not silence us. You will not silence us. I want to say to the opposition, up your game. I'm not going to bash the leader of the opposition. I'm not going to, bash the opposition is not to be blamed. But the opposition also is a vanguard. And I want to urge the opposition to make the Guyanese people confident that they have a political opposition that will stand up for them against those in the regime who want to silence them, who want to kill them, who want to, they want to kill Melly Mel, allegedly. They want to kill Rickford Burke, allegedly. They want to kill Norman Brown, allegedly. They want to kill Kadaki Amsterdam, allegedly. And so, Francis Michael Bailey has come on. I think he's had reservations. He doesn't understand the nature of this program. And, he, for some reason, is trying to strike a balance, which is his prerogative. It is his prerogative. I know that when people come on this program, the PPP goes really hard after them. In fact, before they come on the program, when it's advertised, they would be getting calls out of desperation, being begged not to go hard on the corrupt in Guyana. But this struggle continues, and we are not afraid. We're not afraid. Bring it on, PPP. Try to take our lives wherever we are. Try to get us extradited. Try to, get us jailed. You can't stop. You can't stop the voices crying for people to be free. We would rather die standing up and exposing your wickedness than to go down on our knees and be silent, while we cowed under you. It will never happen. You will be exposed. And when the government comes down, some politicians will face the full brunt of the law. We know what is happening in the Guyana police force. We know those things are enabled, I'm not saying alleged, enabled by Barajati and the PPP government. We know that. We know that the corruption is allowed to happen so that those people can find favor in the PPP, senior police officers and all others in different departments and establishments across Guyana. The PPP regime is a very wicked regime. It is an abominable regime, and it's a corrupt regime. It's a petty, hustling regime, and it's a regime that is undermining Guyana because of corruption. Guyana is on the world stage at the moment. The money that Guyana has, it's staggering, it's you can't explain it. And you look at the Schoonard highway, because people are giving their friends, family, and cronies contracts, people who can't do proper work. Because if the contract is 15 billion, which is way over what the contract should be, then 14 billion is going into other people's pockets. This is what is happening in Guyana. And it's wrong, it is wicked, and it is undermining Guyanese. And because of racism, so many will turn a blind eye and defend wickedness and evil. But when another party is in power, those same people will speak up. We have a wicked set of people in Guyana. I'm happy I'm not one of them. I've called out and continue to call out the opposition that I am associated with, and I will continue to call out wrongs wherever I see it. This program is back, and it's not going anywhere. And it will come really hard. You can't touch Melly Mel. You can't touch Rick Ford Work. You can't touch Mark Benshop. You can't touch Norman Brown. You can't touch Kadaki Amsterdam. And certainly you can't touch Jason and Francis. And so I want to say to all of you that when the PPP begins its onslaught, we will continue to push back assiduously, because this is a struggle to save a country. And I'm happy that we are part of that history to save a country. Until next time, thank you very much for joining Voice of the Diaspora. I leave you with this song.
The rebel in me can touch the rebel in you, and the rebel in you can touch the rebel in me, and the rebels we be is gonna set us free. Then it will bring out the rebel, bring out the rebel, bring out the rebel in me. If the liver in you can touch the liver in me, and the liver in me can touch the liver in you, and the lovers we be will bring sweet harmony. Then it will bring out the love, bring out the love, bring out all the love in me.
It's an avalanche. It's not like trickles. It's a deluge of their support. People who believe that they stood for something.
Raised about the Schoonard Road project.
There's absolutely no concern about Schoonard Road project. First of all, and I shared with Chabron last evening information because there are some drain covers, and these are covers where the form still has to be removed. And this is ongoing, and there's a long defects liability period. So it's just empty noise.
The update that you shared with him was given to the contractor?
No. This is the project team.
So I want to begin by revisiting an issue that I spoke about last week, and that is the use of the social media by certain personalities. These persons use the social media only, it appears, to attack the reputation and character of others.
It's an avalanche. It's not like trickles. It's a deluge of their support. People who believe that they stood for something that was different, and now have seen the true nature of the
The rebel in me can touch the rebel in you, and the rebel in you can touch the rebel in me, and the rebels we be is gonna set us free. Then it will bring out the rebel, bring out the rebel, bring out the rebel in me. The lover in you can touch the lover in me, and the lover in me can touch the lover in you, and the lovers we be will bring sweet harmony. Then it will bring out the love, bring out the love, bring out all the love in me. Because you got the potion, bring out the love in me, and I will bring out the love in you. Let the lover in you touch the lover in me, and the rebel in me will touch the rebel in you, and the lovers we be will bring sweet harmony. Then it will bring out the love, bring out the love, bring out all the love in us. My love is deeper than the ocean. Our love is in need of sweet devotion. And I will bring out the love in you. Let the rebel in me touch the rebel in you, and the rebel in you will touch the rebel in me, and the lovers we be